Hey everybody, welcome to the Honor Podcast. We're back here again, episode 3, which is really exciting. Starting to get rolling, and I have a really awesome guest with us here today. I can't wait to introduce him, but before we do, we kind of launched this off. I was sharing with Devin that I didn't really know what I was doing when I was getting started. So I just felt like it would put on my heart to pray as we open. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of where we're going from here on out. So I'm going to open us up with prayer, introduce our guests, and we'll get rolling. So Father, thank you so much for this day and just this chance to get together with a good friend and just talk about you. Lord, I just pray that your words would speak through ours, that we would just really have fun enjoying you in the process and in this conversation. And God, would you speak to anyone who's listening? God, would you put it, whatever you want to say, whatever you would like for them to glean from this, Lord, would you touch their hearts in a very unique and personal way through our stories. And we just thank you again. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Mm-hmm. I also think this is kind of random, but I think sometimes prayer can be super intimidating. And I know even when I first started, when I became a Christian on my basketball team, not that I wasn't before, but I was the Christian, the token Christian on the team. So everyone would ask me to pray, and I used to get so nervous. I don't know about you, but it just makes me laugh now because I would be put on the spot to pray, and I was like, God, I don't. And as I started to get to know him and realize prayer is just a conversation, it's become a lot more easier, but it is really interesting and kind of, hopefully this is helping to kind of normalize what prayer looks like when we start. But that was just kind of something I thought was interesting. So probably should introduce our guest. This is Devin Hays. Gosh, I've had the opportunity to get to know Devin over the past couple of years through, I think, our moms, actually. We're in the same small group. And when Devin was walking through some stuff in college, through sport and life, my mom was like, hey, I really, would you be praying for Devin? He, could really use some comfort and support. So I think I ended up reaching out. You also were looking for volunteers for one of the many organizations he started, which is really cool. I'll have an opportunity to share some about that. And so we just kind of crossed paths. I heard his story and became instant friends. I feel like we'll meet for coffee and it could last for hours because the plethora of knowledge that comes out of your brain is really cool, just from lived experiences of walking with God. So maybe you should introduce yourself, share a little bit about yourself. But yeah, this is Devin.
First of all, thank you for having me on.
Oh, of course.
Prayers to start, always a good place to start. So that's
thanks.
Yeah, we always have to set the alarm when we're going to meet. That way we're not running over. But yeah, definitely appreciate you having me on. As Hanna said, I grew a lot in sport and God. The two kind of together definitely moved my life in a lot of different ways.
What sport did you play?
So I grew up playing hockey was my primary sport. Lacrosse was kind of an off season.
I actually don't know if I knew you played lacrosse.
Yeah, I played up until my junior year. I ended my junior year.
Okay.
That's when my lacrosse career ended because I signed with some hockey teams and didn't want to roll an ankle or something.
That's of high school, correct?
Yeah, yeah, junior year of high school.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we've talked about this. Hockey is more of you don't necessarily go to college per se. Well, I guess you can, but there's different options. It looks different than the typical track of you go to high school, you play on an AAU team or a specialized team, and then you go to college on scholarship. Explain a little bit about the hockey world and how you entered in that.
So hockey's different in that you finish up your youth hockey. So a lot of hockey players will finish between the ages of 16 to 18 for youth hockey.
Okay.
And then they'll go play what's called junior hockey for several years before they go to college.
Okay. That's what it is.
I believe the reason why is it's called junior hockey. It's kind of the in-between. And I think that was kind of created before NCAA college hockey kind of really began to take root. It kind of started up in Canada as prepping for like a pro career or something like that. Yeah. So the structure is very different. The only sport that's kind of similar is baseball, and how you have your minor league systems and you have your single A, double A, triple A. So for hockey, you're eligible for most junior leagues starting at 16, but a lot of players will wait until 17 or 18 to go play juniors.
And you played juniors, correct?
Yeah. Okay. So
what made you choose hockey? Like, well, why hockey?
My parents had season tickets to the Avs, and I was like a little kid. So we had nosebleeds when they were really, really good. And I looked over at my parents, and I guess at one point said me down there. And so they put me into hockey, and it kind of just blossomed from there, the love for the sport and putting everything I had into it. And so that led in Colorado, a lot of states, you have your youth hockey, and then you kind of have a AAA, which is extensive travel hockey.
Okay.
The Colorado has several good AAA programs, but there's a lot more in the Midwest. So I left my junior year of high school right before it to go to Michigan, and lived in Michigan for 2 years.
Was that intimidating at all? I know this sounds silly, but I think of the thought of leaving home in high school for me, by senior year, I was kind of ready, but...
I was kind of ready for it. I think I was excited for the opportunity. There are times that I would miss home and stuff, especially like that first semester of my junior year, but I got to know some incredible people that I'm still in touch with, and they are family to me. And so I think that helped a lot with the transition.
Yeah.
But I was Saginaw, Michigan for my junior and senior year of high school, and then finished out at Heritage High School for my senior year, and then went to go play juniors starting in Wisconsin, and then went to Minnesota, and then went back to Wisconsin.
All the cold places.
Yeah.
Ooh-wee.
Yep. And then, so I did juniors for 2 years, and then ended up at Iowa State my freshman year of college.
So hockey was like very much part of your blood growing up, and that was where did were you already a Christian at this point, or did you have faith as an influence in your life, or were you what did that look like in terms of making that even that decision to go to Iowa State?
Yeah. So young childhood, we were very active in the church. We use the term cradle Catholic as like you're born into it and you just go do all the church things. So
I'm learning all sorts of new terms. So cradle Catholic, and then CEOs. Last week we were talking about CEOs church. No, Christmas and Easter only.
Oh, yeah.
So this is cool. Learning. Yeah,
we have another
Christianese.
Dining and dashing is the people who receive the Eucharist and then leave, and they don't stay for the final blessing.
Dine and dash. That's actually awesome.
So there's some fun ones.
Okay, so we have that too. Sometimes you'll go to church and like after I don't know what this would be called, but after the message.
Yeah.
And the second they start playing songs at the end, people just start like bolting out, and I'm like, wait a second. But not quite dine and dash, but similar.
Yeah, it's it's frowned upon. But, anywho, so sister and I grew up being Catholic, so we did a lot of the sacraments. My mom taught like a youth group stuff, all that. And then right around when I hit middle school, I started playing competitive hockey, and my sister started doing competitive soccer. So then the weekends kind of became sports tournaments, and we became the CEOs.
Yep. There you go. Okay.
Yeah. And definitely, we all still believed in God and everything. And I would occasionally pray. It just wasn't the forefront of my life by any means.
Okay. Which is funny now that I know you. It just seems really, it's so funny. Yeah. How different, how things have changed.
It's Yeah. There's when you open up your heart a little bit, definitely come in. So
yeah,
Holy Spirit will fill it. So yeah, the kind of spent a lot of time away from the church though, and kind of barely going. Started to go back to church around COVID, like right after or right before.
Wait, really? That's when everybody's leaving.
COVID. Yeah, so like
right before. Okay, I was
right
like,
before COVID, kind of came back and would go here and there. When I was playing juniors, I'd get back from a bus trip, so like a weekend, we'd go play a series wherever, and then I would go work out all night because I mean, when your life is literally hockey, that's it. So yeah, go work out all night and then go home, shower, and then go to the earliest service or the mass. Yeah.
Okay.
And then COVID happened and then no more church. So then went another couple of years without much interaction.
I remember, speaking of that, I find this really, I might have shared this before. I remember having this like conversation with one of my seminary teachers, and he was like, church should not be online. There should never be such a thing. This was 2019. Like, this is ruining the church. There's no, and to his credit, I mean, I understand, like, if you're just watching online, that can be maybe not as God had intended in, you know, how he created or, you know, designed for the church. And I was kind of arguing because having lived in different states, it's been really nice to be able to stay connected to churches through listening to messages online. And so I kind of had like a little bit of a squabble with him, and he just wasn't having it. And then maybe a month later, everything shut down. And I'm pretty sure he was doing online church and online stuff as well. And I started laughing. I was like, it's interesting how things change. Like, when you say never say never, because you never know what happens after that. But I just thought that was the irony in all of that, how much church has shifted and how things have changed with COVID and what that's done.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you started going back to church.
Started going back here and there. I wouldn't say it was like completely for God though. And that's kind of the same thing where...
Oh, in what way?
More of like a quiet place where I could just kind of go and be by myself. It wasn't like a focused, like, you know, I'm here to worship God. I'm here for out of reverence. It's here because it's like, it's something I can go do quiet by myself and kind of escape the world, which in a weird way, escaping the world is good. But the reason for being there wasn't.
I will say, to your credit, I had a friend in college who the movies, like, he would go to the movies because he was pretty well recognized in Raleigh. And so he would just escape to the movie theater. And that was his like place of solitude. But I find, I mean, going to church, that's a really great place to do that. So I think that there's like that desire, but the fact that you chose church, I think, is cool to me. Shows God stirring in your heart before you probably even realize it. You were going for that solitude, and he was probably already wiring you to like be drawn there.
Oh, definitely.
Just super cool.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings us to Iowa State. So the COVID and everything started to clear up, and so went to Iowa State my freshman year and played on their ACHA hockey team there.
Explain ACHA, because I don't think I know.
Yeah, so hockey is, again, it breaks every rule imaginable.
Different, right?
So you have Division I hockey, and it's very limited compared to other sports. You don't have very much of it. There's not a ton of teams. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's pretty expensive sport to have at a university because, I mean, you have just the ice alone is and then there's not really any Division II, and so I didn't realize that. And then you have Division III, and you have ACHA, and which is like considered a club hockey, but then it's also weird because there's times where an ACHA team will play a Division I team. Oh, interesting. So it's, but they won't. Division I teams don't tend to play Division III teams. Okay. And so then, that doesn't make sense, but cool. Yeah. All right. And then there's like, so like Liberty University has an ACHA D1 hockey team that pays for like all of their club sports. They have a full blown arena with jumbotrons. Wow. And it's like they have an ESPN deal. Like you can go on to ESPN Plus and watch them.
For Liberty?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it's like this weird thing where there's colleges that'll treat it as like similar to a varsity sport. Like when I was at Iowa State, 3 sports you could get season tickets for using your online student portal was football, basketball, and hockey.
Oh, wow.
Even though we weren't.
Okay.
So it's like a very weird, because then we also was like very discounted housing. Like they cut a lot of corners for us. We ended up at Iowa State my freshman year playing hockey there, and was definitely taking advantage of the college experience.
As most people do, but okay.
I lived practically above a bar. It was like the same block, just the building over.
That's dangerous for a college student.
Across the street from another one, and like down the street, like 3 to 5 minute walk from all of the other ones. And it was like this part of town called Campus Town. Okay. They like, I think the way Ames is designed, you have like sleepy downtown Ames, where it's like all the farmers and locals kind of hang out. Yep. And then you have Campus Town, which was right across the street from the university, and they kind of just push all the students over there.
Got it.
So was definitely involved in just, campus culture, college experience, if you will. And I remember one night I got back home, and it was like around October or so, and just kind of hit my knees and felt empty. I had my own room in our apartment, and just remember asking God to give me a challenge to overcome, to help strengthen me and turn me into a better man. So randomly, you just was on your heart, like... Yeah, I just felt empty and went in and said that prayer. And it's funny because I'll tell some other Christians about that and stuff, and especially the dangerous prayer. Oh yeah, especially like you're like Southern Baptist. Like, you said what? Yeah, that's like praying for patience. Yeah. Like, don't ever do that. Yeah. And so after that prayer, I'd go to church here and there. The church was just as far as all the bars. Like out the door to the right was a church, and out the door to the left was all the bars. And would go here and there. But if I had any homework, if I was out too late the night before, if I felt sick because of the night before, would not go. And they had like a 7 p.m. mass. So there wasn't really an excuse not to go, but like there were excuses made here quite often. But would go here and there. And it was for that same reason. It was kind of a escape from school and my apartment, which is always a disaster. I had 3 roommates and great dudes, still in contact with them, but I remember the guys' apartments in college. That was enter at your own risk more often than not. Was I see you were that guy. Okay. Oh yeah. But full blown like bottles along the countertop with the LED lights behind them. And, that's. But then around Thanksgiving, like right before I went home for Thanksgiving, I ended up getting sick. Ended up having strep throat. Okay. Okay. Well, I hadn't had strep throat before. I was usually pretty healthy. I figured if you know anything about hockey gear, I just figured I was already exposed to every bacteria imaginable. Yeah. But went home, got some meds, recovered, and then less than a month later, or actually about a month later, right after New Year's, I throat started hurting again and found out I had COVID and strep at the same time. Oh, wow. The double. I can't get much better than that. Okay. Yeah. So it was... I remember the physician assistant that ran the campus clinic was like, when they say impressive in the medical world, impressive in the medical world means different. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing. But so that took about a week to kind of start to recover from. But I remember thinking it was pretty strange because and I hadn't had strep before at any point in my life, and then to have it twice. And right before Thanksgiving and then right after New Year's. So like just barely over a month apart.
You're right. Sure.
And from that point to the end of the year, I'd have cough that would kind of come and go. I was tired all the time, especially towards the end of the semester. I would drink an entire cup of coffee, go to class I enjoyed. I had a rule with myself because I really wanted to have good grades that I had to sit in the front of the class.
Good rule. Actually, that was an unspoken, like non-negotiable for me as well.
Yeah. So it's like sit at the front of the class. And so I'd go to classes I enjoyed, sit in the very front.
Yeah.
I'd be embarrassed because I'd have issues staying awake.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Just figured, I'm playing hockey, I'm doing school, I am focused on both of those things.
There's so many variables. Sometimes it's very hard to discern like what's actually going on.
Yeah. And then I'm out all the time. So between those things, it's like, okay, I'm tired because I'm a college student.
Yeah.
And just started having like sleep issues and stuff. But again, I didn't think too much of it. And the second to last week of school, I woke up with a bump on my head. It's about a quarter like in diameter. It's like up in my hair. And remember calling my mom and talking to her about it. And she's like, did you hit your head when you're out this past weekend?
I don't remember.
Not that I remember, but possible.
Did it hurt? Like, how did you even know it was there?
Really, just like felt it and like, oh, that's
strange.
Yeah. And then that Wednesday, I woke up with a second bump, and the cough was starting to get worse as all this was happening. And went to go watch Father Stu, which is
Mark Wahlberg.
Wahlberg produced it.
Side note, I did not realize Mark Wahlberg was Marky Mark. And like Good Vibrations. Oh my gosh, that's like one of my go-to gym songs. This is a new discovery for me. But okay, so Father Stu, big shift. Yeah. Okay.
And so I don't want to spoil if people haven't watched it, but it's about finding God through illness and kind of going through illness through grace.
Yeah.
And
it's a heavy movie. It's good.
Yeah. And so watched that, and I'm holding back coughs the entire time. Went to go see it with a friend.
Yeah.
And that night, rather than driving all the way back up to Ames, they asked if I wanted to spend the night in their guest room. And I said, sure. And so the guest room was in the basement, and I just kept coughing and I said, I can drive back up. My first class is at like 10 a.m. So I can get home and still sleep and get up and go to class. And they're like, oh, no, you're fine. I don't want to keep you up all night. And they said, oh, we're at the, 2 floors above you.
Yeah.
You're not going to wake us up. And I said, okay, good. I don't want you thinking you have a cancer patient in the basement. And they looked at me and they're like, Devin, that's not funny. And I was like, rolled over and went to bed. And
what made you think to say that?
It just came out.
Yeah, interesting.
Came out of my mouth. And then that Friday, woke up with a third bump. And at that point, I'm like, okay, cough's bad. And I've got these bumps popping up on my head.
Yeah.
When Monday comes along, I'm going to go into the campus clinic before my first exam.
Yeah.
And see if they can give me some steroids or something to get through the week. And then whatever this is, I'll deal with it at home.
Yeah.
And so Monday came, woke up, went to the campus clinic like 7 a.m. And I am beyond grateful for this PA. She was concerned that I had fluid in my lungs from COVID. And I felt like, looking back on it, especially just throwing again the steroids, get through the week, you're 3 days from going home, would have been extremely, that would have made sense. As far as like a plan of action and all that.
Right.
But instead, she said, let's just take the chest x-ray because of your cough and see if you have fluid from COVID, and we'll do a blood test too.
Yeah.
And so I got the chest x-ray done and was waiting in the...
How did you feel during all of that? Were you nervous at all, or were you still...
Like a little bit, but it was just kind of like,
just do what you need to do.
Get a picture done. And then I was actually worried because my exam's coming up.
You're thinking more about school. Yep.
Yeah, because I was in there for probably about an hour. So I was emailing my instructor saying, hey, I got an x-ray and I'm waiting to hear the results and I might be late, might need to figure something out.
Yeah.
And he, anyways, sorry, but so I can't remember. So she ended up coming back in the room and said that usually you're supposed to be able to see the heart in x-rays, but she couldn't, which means that there is either fluid or a tumor around it. And either way was to go straight to the emergency room of the local hospital, Mary Greeley Hospital. And
you were there by yourself. So you got that news by yourself.
Yeah.
Wow. Where did your brain go? Like what was that?
She said that they'd called and that they're expecting me. So I kind of like left and I'm like, well.
So you went straight there?
No. Oh. I'm a college teenage guy. I made a detour.
Cool.
So I walked out, I called my dad and told him what was happening. And he's like, well, you're gonna have to call your mom. My mom's a second grade teacher. And I'm like, I'm not calling her. That's the beginning of the school day. We don't even know what this is. I don't want her falling apart in front of students. And he said, well, it's your butt, in other words.
Yep.
And said, okay, fair enough. And then I went to the apartment, told my roommates, but I have to go to the hospital and get pictures taken. Told another one of my good friends that lived in the same apartment.
Yeah.
Then went over, and that there's an issue when I got in, I barely had time to sit. I went in, I signed in, and within probably 10 to 15 minutes, I'm in back, gowned up, and getting pictures done. So what they ended up finding was a softball-sized tumor sitting above my heart and squeezing my trachea, and deemed it immediately life-threatening. So they sent me up to the oncology floor, and it's absolutely crazy. But while I was kind of getting put into the room and everything, I just remember having a prayer of, I know I have zero control over this.
Yeah.
And I just, I know I have zero control over this, and if you could give me grace to help overcome the mental side. And that was it was just a simple prayer. And it was the first time in my life that I'd ever actually surrendered.
Wow.
And just kind of figured whatever, that's what it was. It was, I know whatever your plan is or whatever your will is, it'll be done. But give me some grace to help overcome the mental side. And it was the most peaceful 2 weeks of my life, which is kind of crazy.
Amazing.
The only heart rate thing, the only time that I was truly upset during the whole time was I got emails from professors asking me to take finals.
You were like, wait, what?
Yeah, that was the only time that I was truly upset.
Wow.
And initially when I first was put into the hospital, they figured it was going to be a lymphoma, which as far as cancers go, it's common in young men, as far as cancers go. So it's 22. And so they said, you have a 94% survival rate, 96% survival rate. It's curable in 8 months. You'll be fine. And then they, I was awake for all of the beginning treatment stuff because of the tumor. They didn't want to risk putting me to sleep. And
jeez.
Yeah.
But that was fun.
Well, that's the thing. I was just so at peace that I remember when they took the biopsy to make the official diagnosis, they, again, completely awake and went in through my ribs to pull out a piece of the tumor. I remember after they'd completed it, and they just did a local anesthetic, and I asked to see the vial. So they showed me my own tumor, and it was just completely, again, just at peace with it. Okay.
At this point, had you remembered that prayer initially of giving me a challenge to overcome? Was that on your mind at all?
Not really, to be honest with you. Like it was
Okay.
when I hit the first couple of days were like a dead sprint.
Oh,
so it was after that where I'm like, I did kind of pray for that.
What did I get myself into?
Yeah, but
this one is going quite differently in my mind.
Yeah. And remember, my poor sister was down in South America at the time on a school trip, and she didn't have phone coverage. And so the results of the biopsy got back. They sent it up to Mayo Clinic, which is the best cancer hospital in the world.
Yeah.
Like physical tumor, all that. And I remember the oncologist walked back in the room and said, so it's not lymphoma, it's leukemia. And the type of leukemia that it is extraordinarily aggressive. You have about a 50% survival rate for the next 5 years, and then it's going to drop even further after that. Good luck that was the end of it. And after being told that, again, it sounds crazy, but it was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then I was like, can you see what these bumps are on my head? Because I hadn't been able to ask yet. So he walked over.
Okay.
So he walked over and felt the top of my head and said, oh, those are just cysts. They're medically unrelated and they'll go away on their own. I had never had them before that, never had them since. My dad likes to joke that it was God smacking me on the head to go to the doctor.
So that's what kind of initiated you going, but it had nothing to do with your
nothing to do with it. By the end of the 2 weeks at Mary Greeley, they'd already gone away. Just
disappeared.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And while this is all happening, my sister hit cell coverage and was getting all kinds of calls and texts saying, we're sorry to hear about your brother. And so that we're getting that news while she's trying to reach out. And so I can't imagine the other way around it. This might sound crazy, but for me, going through cancer was easier than seeing honestly, the hardest parts were seeing other kids go through it, being treated under pediatrics, and seeing friends and family go through it with you. Yeah. And for me, it was like, oh, well, what's supposed to happen is going to happen.
Which is an incredible grace as it is. Like,
exactly.
I think that's such an answer to your prayer about help me from the mental standpoint. Like that's, wow. Like that's not, I don't see that as being very human response. Or God to work in the spirit in you.
Wasn't. Yeah. It was an answer to the prayer. And so after that, the same friend that I had gone to see the movie with, they were friends with a gentleman who was part of a healing ministry. Okay. And he just happened to be moving his daughter out of Iowa State that next day.
Oh, perfect.
And so they'd asked him if he could.
It's crazy. Like coincidence. I think sometimes coincidences, like it's so easy to just chalk it up as a coincidence. But I think if you're aware and just, we were talking about God conscious and just being able to see sometimes those are so, you want a sign or you want to be able to experience God. And he's like right there, working in your life in a way that is like, I mean, you can't just like manufacture that or make that happen. It's all out of your hands, but yet here it is. And wow.
Yeah. When we get into hospital, I mean, it's the amount of times where it's like, this was not like anywhere close to what it should have been. Yeah. Like it was elevated past what we were going to do with it. Wow. But, so he came in and they're telling me that this healing ministry he's with, they pray and like, people can walk who couldn't, blind can see, all this stuff that's like biblical stories. And I'm like, I appreciate people coming to pray, but I don't know about this one. Like I was diagnosed with leukemia, and it's like, from what I've heard, there's no real fixing it, but I appreciate people coming to pray. So that's kind of the angle that I took. And so he came in and, the Catholic Church has relics of the early days of the church, and he had one that was the relic of the cross. So it was a little sliver in this like big cross, but there was a little clear window. Wow. And so he came in, put it in my hands, and just kind of prayed with me. And told me about the story of how he got the cross. It just kind of showed up on his doorstep one day, and he sent it to the Vatican, and they sent it back to him and said that it was real. So that was kind of wild. But yeah, he just put it in my hands. I was holding it. He prayed with me, and just kind of left. And it was just a very interesting experience. Yeah, he just kind of left. A couple priests came in, prayed with me, and then they decided to do another biopsy because they wanted to see how far the leukemia that they were sure on had spread. And so they did a bone marrow. So they went in through my back and grabbed some bone, and they sent that off to Iowa, which is another good hospital.
Yeah.
And that came back a few days later as lymphoma. And
hard shift back to the original 94 it percent?
The curable
survival.
94%, where they told me you're healthy, you're going to be fine. 8 months. And
that was how do you, like, that has to be a roller coaster in and of itself. You like hear that things are okay, and then the best clinic in the world is saying you have 50% at best percent for 5 years. And, and then to be able to have this news afterwards, like, how do you emotionally, how are you processing all of this?
For me, it was just at peace. Parents, they were ecstatic, but for me, it was like, just kind of added onto it. But that brings us like the big question of an MD pathologist at the best cancer hospital in the world looked at my physical tumor and got it wrong. Wow. Or something changed between the two biopsies. So
the answer?
I have my theory.
What's your theory?
That, something changed between the two biopsies. I've talked to other doctors and stuff. Lymphoma can turn into leukemia. They're related.
Okay.
Lymphoma is also its own disease, though, so it can do all kinds of damage by itself. But when it turns into leukemia, it's like cat's out of the bag. It's not supposed to go back the other way. And they were for sure. Like, they started me on leukemia chemo. And again, the treatments are related. So it's a lot of the same chemos, but the doses are different and everything. And
wow. So it was a miracle.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it was, the doctor did not expect it. That's for sure.
So what next? Like, how does that then, your relationship with God and how that, where do you go with that? Like, did that impact your life moving forward, or take us after that?
So got home, and I was in 2022, May of 22. And since then, I've missed, I think, 1 or 2 masses, and they were related to treatment. Okay. So it's been church every Sunday, and oftentimes multiple times a week.
Yeah.
If I can make it. And when I got back, it was very much, okay, I want to become closer to God. Now I'm going to be intentional with this. I had always believed in God, but now it's, okay, I've been shown. Like, he's definitely a force in my life, and I need to grow closer to him and all that. So I joined the Knights of Columbus. So we do it's a charitable organization that helps with church stuff. And they were incredible. They were the first group to really bring me on and treat me just as one of the guys, which helped a lot too with my faith, because I'm surrounded by good Christian men that live good Christian lives. And
so it was inspiring for you to be around. I think that's something that's really important as an athlete, as just anybody, is the company that you keep, right? And I think my dad once told me a story about crabs and how when you go crab fishing, I don't even know, crabbing. I don't think you fish for crab. Okay. So you put the little nets down in the baskets, but they never need lids because crabs will always pull each other down. So they will crawl in, but they won't crawl out or can't crawl out because they got pull each other down. And I think similarly, there's a lot of times where who we surround ourselves with, not to say that like obviously you shouldn't engage with and like encourage and be around others to bring them to try, bring them with you or lift them up. But a lot of times if your people and the people that you're really leaning on for support are negative or pulling you towards things that you don't want to be involved with, or the campus sector of Ames, like you're going to find yourself kind of gravitating more towards that rather than crawling out of that basket. Where conversely, I think when you surround yourself with men that you want to be like, that you want to grow from, that you want to learn from, your trajectory and how you exist from there on out, it's influenced in a positive way, which then gives you the grace to be able to be a good influence on others and not be sucked into things that you don't want to get involved with. And I think that's kind of the same holds true for sports, for anything in life. It's awesome that you were able to find that group to help, and know that intuitively you needed to surround yourself with some people to help you move forward.
Yeah. Something else that really kind of changed the experience, or just my relationship with God and everything, was goals, because sports is so goal oriented. Mm-hmm. And how I still have goals, but they've changed. They're not like a solid, there's things I want to achieve. Yeah. But the true life goals aren't like a specific pinpoint. I want this by this age. I want this. It's changed into kind of seeing how I get led and what direction things are going. Whereas it used to be, I want to make this team. I want to progress to this position on this team. Yeah. So that's something that the sports and God thing have kind of shifted a lot.
Because you obviously couldn't go back to hockey, correct? No, once this happened, your hockey career, you had to hang up the skates, right?
Yeah, I was told that wouldn't be happening.
Okay. So it is interesting, I think, as an athlete, a lot of times, placing your identity in sport is very easy. So here, that was taken away from you. What did that look like for you then, having to wrestle with that? Now, granted, I think in some instances, it's harder when it's not life and death. But for you, your life, things change when you have a perspective shift like that. Explain a little bit about how that impacted your perspective on sport as well. So goals obviously changed because, one, I think you were recognizing how surrender plays a role in your life and in sport, and recognizing that you don't really have control. And what else did that look like for you?
The transition out of hockey was a lot easier than I would have expected it to be. Okay. I think the reason why is it was a definitive, this is done. Yeah. No matter how many more pucks I had shot, or times I had gone to just skate lines, or doing all of the work that I didn't feel anyone else was doing at that time, or the athletic urge to keep working. No matter how much more of that I had done, it would have ended in the same result. So I think that was almost easier. I don't have the what if. Okay. I don't have my career ended at a national championship getting second in overtime. Yeah. So I think the transition out was almost easier because it was it was a gift, where grace, where it's just, this is finished, and recognizing that no matter what else I had put into it, the results would have been the same.
That's so interesting to me, because I think I don't know if I made this connection before, but that was very similar to the way that my career ended. Just in the sense that having that sense of peace for me, I remember, so I had concussions was what ultimately stopped me from being able to compete my senior year. And I remember the practice before the first practice of the season was when I got hit. And I didn't find out till the next day that it was a concussion. It was really messy and I didn't feel well, but I couldn't figure it out. And then it took about 3 months every day seeing the doctor. And I would, go in and they do the concussion protocol, and he would have me stand, and then I'd have to close my eyes and put my hands out, and I was supposed to be able to stand and balance, and I would always fall backwards. I had no concept, but I just remember being so exasperated in the struggle. And I was too afraid. I don't know about you, but maybe this is why I was too afraid to end my career myself, to be able to say, I knew something was wrong. And I knew that trying to get back to playing was going to be dangerous for me. But I was too afraid to say, I'm done. I didn't want to be a quitter. I didn't want to be someone but I just remember there was one time I went to see the doctor where I finally was just exasperated by it all. And it had been like 3 months since that last concussion. And I went to the bathroom and dropped to my knees, similarly, like a prayer of just gross. I don't know why that bathroom was disgusting in the training room.
A lot of prayers happen on bathroom floors.
It does. But actually, it's kind of funny that it's very much a nostalgic place for me to meet with God. Sometimes I'll get lost in the bathroom just because I am praying, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should leave. This is kind of weird. But I did. I dropped to my knees, and it was kind of that similar sense of surrender. Like, I don't have control over this, and I've been trying to get better. I can't do anything to rush this, to fix this. And so it was a moment like you were saying, of just surrender, of God, your will is going to be done. And I want what you want, and let it, just take care of it for me. Whatever your answer is, just please make it known to me. And I walked into got up, walked out, went straight in. They called me. I went in, and he asked, how are you feeling? And I told him I wasn't feeling well still. And he said, well, I should have told you this from the beginning, but from an NCAA standpoint, your protocol, you've had 3 concussions within 10 months, and I think you're allowed within a year. So I was medically disabled, and he kind of knew that from the get-go. I had to wrestle with it, and I didn't know. But normally, just kind of the same way when you were told you weren't going back to hockey, he said, you're done. It was this relief of just, okay, I can breathe. And it just felt right. I knew that God was in control, and I knew that I was safe in the center of his will, and I didn't have to be afraid, and I could leave basketball with peace, knowing that God was in control and he was the one that ended it. It wasn't like it was taken from me per se. I knew his plan, that he was carrying it out exactly how he wanted. And there was a sense of peace for me in that I see that not everybody has, when it just comes to an abrupt halt for no other reason than just you lost and it was your last game and now it's done and now what? But to be able to have that experience where you knew that God was orchestrating every little detail of your life, and to see how he brought that to a conclusion in a way that gave you peace, in a strange way, it is kind of a gift,
Yeah.
And really beautiful. Hard. I mean, it doesn't make it easy. Obviously, your story is not easy at all, but the grace that he answered that prayer of your mindset and being able to hold you so tenderly that way through it all, and then end it in a way that you had peace, is really that's a gift.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, it's the realizing that there's the personal goals, and then there's also the understanding of those are going to shift. The make plans your God laugh thing is a very true thing.
Yes.
So I've had goals where it's okay, this is on my heart, makes sense, and then they work out. And then there's also ones where it's okay, this doesn't feel right, and then they end up getting altered. And
explain that in the sense of when and how that comes to be, of oh, I don't think this feels right, what your response is and how God brings that to resolution. Because I think that's a really great, you're touching on how we hear and discern the voice of God. A lot of times people want to know, how do I know if he's speaking? Is it an audible, do this or don't do that? So what does that look like for you when you set those goals, and then God shifts that?
We've mentioned it before, but the waking up and asking God, like, oh, what are we going to do today? And letting him guide with, the intention of, okay, like these are things that in order to progress in these areas, I need to get done, but then also allowing, like, again, the shift to happen when needed. I think that's how it kind of happens. Or if there's times where it's just like something's placed on my heart and I just feel a pull or a tug towards it. Whereas in other times, again, it's not, and it's kind of easy to recognize the difference. Now God works in everyone's life a little bit differently, and the communication to you is going to be different based on how he knows you will respond. So for me, it's usually like a Devin, you need to do this. And so he has to make it very obvious to me in order for me to understand what's going on.
But in this process, you're reading scripture, you're attending church, you're involved in community. And so it's all these pieces working together, not necessarily like he's saying Devin, like there's no words specifically coming out that you're hearing, like, Devin, do this.
Or like, again, like a kind of tug on the heart. So something that happened fairly recently was like, there's times where I'm like, I don't want to do something. And it's like, no, like the heart is, you need to do it. And so, there's no like voice in my head, but it's, again, the heart's like, you need to. And I had one where my parents were out of town visiting my sister. And so I went to mass by myself and was up really late the night before working on stuff for the business. And got out of mass, and it was like, I made myself get up at 8 a.m. so I could do stuff during the day. Take a little bit of rest after, but get back to doing things. And walked out, and so we have it's a small church, and then next to it is kind of our gathering area. And so it's a separate building. And so got out and started walking past the parish hall, and there's a donut sundae, and I was like, I don't want a donut. It's like 9:30 right now. I want to go home. I want to rest for a little bit and gear up for the day.
Passed up on a donut?
Oh yeah, I was like, I don't want a donut. I'm tired. And I walked all the way past it, and like a pressure in my heart almost was like, donut. I'm like, I don't want a donut. Just keep walking. I'm gonna go home and rest. And I walked all the way past it, and it was like, again, like a tug almost, and I like turned around again. For me, it has to be brutally, like it has to be super like very apparent for me to catch it. So I turned around and I looked at the parish hall, and fine, well, I'll go in, I'll have a donut, and then I'm going to like drink orange juice and leave. And so I walked. Was that
to like balance out the donut?
Well, it's even more sugar. So
I was gonna say, I don't know if that's the best way to balance that out, but I liked your thinking. If that was where you're going, it was a good attempt.
Yeah, they have fruit there too sometimes. But walked in, and at the very back table in the right corner of the room, there was a gentleman that I know from the Knights, and he's going through his own cancer journey right now. And he has a lot of just incredible connections with God that way. So we'll connect a lot and just kind of talk God and cancer, and they're usually pretty good conversations. But so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go sit next to Lynn, and I'm gonna talk to him, and then I'm gonna finish my donut, and I'm gonna leave. So I sit next to him, and so kind of small talk, asking how the week's going and all that. And there's a gentleman that I hadn't seen before, and it's a small church, and he came down and sat like 3 or 4 seats to the left of Lynn, and on the other side of the table from me. And these are like the 6-foot folding tables. And again, kind of like tugging the heart, where it's like, you need to talk to him. I'm like, well, I don't want to talk to him. I'm tired and I want to leave. And so finally I like looked over and like, like, how are you doing today? And I haven't seen you at mass before. And it turns out we have a choir loft. So he's up in the choir loft while I'm at mass. So I don't interact with him because they are up doing the music stuff, and I'm down doing the normal stuff. And Started talking with him and just kind of, it's like, okay, well, are you United Columbus? Because we're always trying to recruit.
Yep.
And
Okay.
he's like, well, I am, but I haven't done anything in a long time. And I was like, well, we have a meeting tomorrow. It was the beginning of the month, and our first Mondays are meetings. And so, we have a meeting tomorrow. I'll come by, I'll pick you up, I'll take you there. And
you offered to pick him up?
Yeah. And he's like, okay, like, I'll do it. And it's like, okay, sounds good. And he's like, my name is Rich, and I got his information and all that. Then he started telling us about how it was the anniversary of his wife passing.
Oh.
And so then, I got up to leave because I finished the donut finally, and was talking to some of the older knights, and they're like, Rich is going to come? Like, and I was like, yeah, he said he was. I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll go pick him up, and if he doesn't want to, he'll let me know. And so the next day, go pick him up, and on the way back, I was talking to him, and he told me how it was the anniversary of his wife's passing, and she had always wanted him to be more involved in the Knights as a men's group.
Oh, okay.
And he figured that me asking couldn't have been a coincidence. And then, in addition to that, he started telling me that his wife passed away from lymphoma.
Oh, wow.
So it was the same disease that I had. And I was asking about one of his wife's requests of after she passed was for him to get back into it. And so it's just like, I drop him off and I start tearing up kind of thing. Cause it's like, I wanted nothing to do with it. I wanted no donut. I wanted to go home. I wanted to rest, but it's one of those things where it's just like, again, for me, it has to be a full on shove. But
I think that's so amazing too, because it's sometimes you don't necessarily, it's not always things you want to do. Not necessarily that it's bad, but he always gives you that like grace or that knowing to do it. And then I think the fulfillment and the satisfaction in that is far greater than any rest. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine you were like on cloud nine, because when you see or feel God move in that way, it's always through, a lot of times through the connectivity of people and the way that he uses us to be tangible representations of his love and care for us, and the way that he weaves our stories together. And I've said this before, it's like, you just can't make that up. Like, you can't orchestrate some of those coincidences in a way that there's no way that just happens on accident. And then the fulfillment and the joy, like there's a feeling that you get that I can't imagine in the awareness of what just took place, that it's like, why would you not want to walk with God in your everyday? Why would you not want to wake up? And like you said, what are we doing today? What does this look like? Because life is so much more rich and full, and not rich, this guy, but like rich, richness of like, of just experiencing life to the fullest, where I think that's the beauty of life with God, is it's not, and we've talked about this before, on this podcast and all, but it's not like a lucky rabbit's foot with God, like, okay, I'm going to do something, God's going to bless it. And that's what it means to be a Christian. And so like, whatever I do, I'm going to succeed, or I'm going to win, or, I'm going to reach my goals. But it's more so recognizing that God has a plan for your life, and he has things that he wants to bring you into, to invite you into, to be a part of what he's doing in your life, but also in the world around you. And the connectivity of that and the experience of that, like, that's what it means to be like truly alive, I think. And being able to experience that, I think, is so amazing. The way that you are obedient and listen and lean into that, it blesses everybody around you. And I think that's so incredible.
There's a story that Tim Tebow has. And while it is cool to like, see yourself used in that way and all that, there are times where like him in this story, I almost feel like ashamed or embarrassed by it. Maybe that's something to work on. Yeah. But where I was actively trying to not do what the calling was. And there's times where I need that reminder. For Tim, the story he talks about with this is his John 3:16 game, where the Broncos beat the Steelers in overtime, and all of his stats are 3:16. It's
that was a crazy phenomenon. Yep.
And he gets done with it. He's beyond excited about beating the Steelers and going on to play the Patriots, and just super excited. He's talking to the media guy who tells him about, all of his stats being 3:16. And it was at that point where he said, well, I made this game about me.
Okay.
And God worked through my selfishness to still reach people. And so there are times where I definitely will feel that. There was a time where, hospital homies, I'll have to talk about that some, but there was a time where I was working very intently on the business and just like shut out the entire world around me. And for whatever reason, I'm just going to check the inbox for the hospital homie email. And I went in and clicked on it, and there was a couple that wanted to make a donation to the charity. They had a bunch of silver coins, a Joe DiMaggio signed baseball, another baseball with a bunch of other Hall of Famers. And they said that the church they were from was Immaculate Heart of Mary, where I was baptized.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like, again, that I'm so focused in my own world that it took me, seeing that email to be like, oh, wait, there are bigger things at play. And so there's definitely almost sometimes where it's like, oh, like there's a correction, again, for me, it has to be pretty obvious, and he knows that. But to see that and be like, oh, Devin, reframe.
Yeah.
I know that this is to show you that there's more to this. It's not just, it's important to work hard and stuff and on especially what he's given you, but to understand that there's a deeper meaning to it.
Yeah.
It's not just, you go, you work hard, and there's a reason you're doing it. There's a reason that calling is there. And I do believe with the shop and the charity and some other things, those were placed in my heart for a reason. But to sometimes just getting away from that and focusing on shop success, and not like that being like monetary or how much I got done in that day.
Right.
Rather than, one of my favorite things with the shop right now is seeing the true joy people will have when they come in. And again, understanding the bigger picture of it rather than the number side of things. Yeah.
And there's an ebb and flow. I think when you look at just how Jesus operated, like there was times where he was full on ministering and healing, and there's time where he would retreat to be with the Father. And I think there's definitely a rhythm of life in the way that God wants us to pour out or to store up. And I think there's a passage where Jesus talks about, like, consider the lilies of the field. They don't toil or spin, but yet God in all his splendor. And he's talking about flowers and the way that they grow. You receive nutrients, they receive, and then they grow prolifically and they pour out. And I think it's kind of that same way a lot of times with us, is there's times where you have to be poured into or like retreat and get done what you need to get done. Then there's times where you can really empty yourself and be out and about, which before we end up or like wrap up, I want you to just share a little bit. So you've touched on hospital homies and the shop. What I think is super cool. So Devin's career in hockey ended, and it just kind of shifted, and God gave him a heart to just start all these organizations. Like, you have such a entrepreneurial mastermind, and just so many different ways that he's connected you and woven you in to take your experiences and be able to be a blessing to others. Like, you were comforted and people came alongside of you, and now you're doing the same. So share a little bit, quickly about hospital homies and the shop and what you're doing, because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So the hospital homies, when I was in my first year of treatment, so I was diagnosed in May, and that October, And it's one of those things I didn't know it just came out of my mouth. I didn't sit there planning this or thinking about it, but I was getting, I believe it was a blood transfusion, and the child life specialists were in. They bring a dog around, and their job is absolutely beautiful. They just go see kids all day, and they're there for them and their families, their siblings. And so they're coming around, and I've become very close with them. And remember asking, like, oh, what do you guys do for like Halloween? Like, is there anything special? They said, oh, we dress up and we go see the kids and we hand out gifts and, we have a good time. It's like, oh, can I come? And again, it wasn't like a planned thing. It was just something that just came up, and like, oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I can't believe they let me, because again, I was just getting done with a blood transfusion and everything. But they said, yeah, sure, come along. And I dressed up as a fire hydrant and went around with the service dog.
Great. Oh, that's awesome.
And read to kids and brought candy and just had a really good time with it. And then I had a Christmas Eve in the hospital and a Thanksgiving. So between those two, just kind of realizing how empty the hospital feels on those holidays.
Yeah.
It kind of led to the creation of Hospital Homies, where we go in on holidays, we see kids, read to them, bring candy, small gifts. We have a DJ now too. So on
That's amazing.
On the bigger holidays, he'll set up in the lobby and we'll throw a party.
So if any of the listeners, because I know to wrap it up, but if any of the listeners want to get involved, because you're taking volunteers, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. How do they connect with you? Just probably reach out on Instagram, like if we put your little handle on.
Instagram works. We also have a website. It's just www.hospitalhomies.org. Yes. And there's a little reach out little portal thing that you can type in message, and and then you also have a shop. Real quick before you finish up, and that's coins and so it's collectibles in general, and we try to cast a wide net. We want it to be an environment where anyone can come in and find something they enjoy. So the main things, the gold, silver coins, jewelry, and then also the comics and cards and toys. And then in addition to that, one of our first showcases, or the first showcase, is going to be a Christian Catholic section.
Cool.
We've noticed a revival with young Christians, and they a lot of them don't have access to the cool old stuff. So the vintage antique cool Bibles, the old pictures,
like this is where I was thinking, that relic that you held when you were sick, like what a full circle moment to have that been something that meant so much to you in that moment, and now for God to be using you to be able to share those with other people, I think is really special. So
that's, I think, going to be a exciting part of the shop to kind of help spread that. We have a giant, like probably 4 foot by 6 foot painting of the crucifixion right now. Wow. It's like the front of the shop.
Ta-da.
It's huge. Watching people kind of like look into it has been a cool experience.
Oh, I bet.
Nothing negative or anything. It's just been just in front of the shop. And yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so grateful that you were willing to come on and share about your story. And I think it's incredible how you had one trajectory of where you felt life was going with hockey. And I think a lot of the things that God did in your hockey experience have really prepared you for life. And it's funny how we can get so caught up in sports, and it's a very small portion of our life. And I think more so it's a platform to just learn and experience God in a way that He wired you to hear. And it gave you the opportunity to now be involved in a lot of really amazing organizations and initiatives that are like changing and shaping your community. And I'm so grateful for you sharing all of that, and like you sharing the gift of Christ in you with others is really special. So thanks, Devin.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.